What episode are we on? 41?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think we're on 41. Let's see.
I think.
Yeah, we're on 41.
Whoa, what's going on here? Yep,
The Luke
41.
the Luke Glendenning episode.
God damn it. Tyler would have way too much fun talking about that.
Ready?
Yep.
All right. What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grind Line podcast. This is episode 41, the Cool Hand Luke episode. It is Greg, your host tonight, with Ryan. Ryan, how you doing?
Since we're going with pun night, I guess fantastic.
Good. I mean, Luke Glendenning's been okay this season. He hasn't been terrible.
He's fitting the role he's supposed to. I will give you that. As frustrating as he is when he's, not shooting his backhand goals into the net, he's doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, he's just up in his trade value at this point, right?
Bingo.
Get something for Luke. Send Luke off to Babcock for a nice third rounder, maybe.
Darren Helm follow suit.
Yeah. So we got a few things to talk about tonight. We ran a Twitter poll with some pretty interesting results. We're going to talk a little bit about Philip Zadina in Grand Rapids and how that's going right now. And what's up with this Wings team? Is this Wings team that we've seen the past 8 games for real, or are they still a bottom 3 team? So we're going to kick it off with the Twitter poll. Ryan, I'm actually going to let you explain this because it was your idea for the weekly Twitter polls. And I'll let you go over what the question was and what the results were, and we'll break it down.
So what ended up happening, as many of you are very likely aware, the Chicago Blackhawks, for whatever reason in their own minds, decided that it was a good idea to fire Joel Quenneville. Granted, the team and the players have admitted as such that there's no reason that the coach being fired is no fault but their own. But I think that this is probably one of the most fan type outrages I've seen in a long time for a coach being fired, especially for how random and abrupt it was. But it got me thinking about, because I saw a lot of conversations and a lot of Wings fans really starting to debate, like, we should fire Blashill immediately and bring in Quenneville. So we were kind of talking amongst ourselves and thought it'd be a good idea to actually ask that question and how people felt about it. So the question that was posted on Twitter is, should the Red Wings hire Quenneville? And I probably should have clarified a little bit more, but that was an immediate hire, not a after the season, after Blashill's done with his contract. Do they pull the trigger now and not risk losing him long term? And does even Quenneville want to be coaching right now? I would assume yes, but that's besides the point. So the overall results, there were 64 total votes, and a high and very dominating yes answer was the people's choice at 39%, with no coming in a distant third at 23%. Another 30% said, and this is the more logical answer I think you could say, is that it would be nice, but it's likely never going to happen. And then 8% thought that was absolutely insane. So I guess we'll go back to you here, Greg, and what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, so I don't see. So Quenneville, sure, great, lovely. He's an awesome coach. We know he's a Stanley Cup winning coach. He's coached greats like Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews. But that's the point. He was coaching guys like Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews. To come here, one, why would he want to go to a rebuilding team? That doesn't make any sense. Granted, the Blackhawks are what you could consider not rebuilding, but they have to retool because they're trash. They're bottom of the conference right now. Mm-hmm. They're not good. But I think Quenneville, for his age and what's going on with him and the point he is in his career, I think he'll probably want to go to a team that has a pretty good chance. I don't see him getting hired before the end of the season. I think we'll see what happens, I guess, towards coaches tend to get fired more during the season towards trade deadline time, or what that imaginary playoff cutoff period is. So I don't see Quenneville taking a job before that time, but I also don't see any way possible Quenneville coming to the Wings. You're going to have Blashill until the end of the year. There's no reason to fire him in the middle of the season. This team knows what it's going to be. It knows where it's going, and there's no reason. And you say if you're gonna say, hey, maybe Eiserman will come be GM next season, let him decide what he wants to do. And I really don't think picking Quenneville would be the way to go with that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think my vote when I did my personal choice on it would be nice, but it won't happen. I mean, you look at, granted, he's been with Chicago through the glory days with Kane and Taves, but looking at his coaching career, he's also had guys like Brett Hull, Al McGinnis, and the sort. I think he actually had Gretzky for a year or two while he's down there as well. So he comes from a hell of a background and pedigree of coaching some fantastic players, and especially with Chicago when he took them over and started getting them back on track. He's one of those that it'd be too good to be true if you're a Red Wings fan, but at the same time, as to your point, is that the realistic take is, why would you fire Blashill at this point? I mean, the perfect example, like you mentioned, is he's in his final year of a contract. Holland's still finishing out he's got a year and a half left to finish his out. Who knows what could happen between those 2 points? So it's as great as it would be. I don't know. I don't think it'd be necessary right now.
And how often do you see a coach get fired just for another team to fire their coach to hire the one that was just fired? That really doesn't happen, because coaches are fired for a reason generally.
I don't think there's not a one true example I can think of. I don't know if you got any, but I've never seen that really truly happen, at least during a season.
No, my hockey knowledge is vast, but my coaching change knowledge is not that fast. So I don't think any one, though, has, once a coach has been fired, immediately fired their coach to hire that one, because your high caliber coaches, like, I could see that happening if right now Tampa in first place goes, we're firing John Cooper. Mm-hmm. Immediately someone would fire their coach to pick up Cooper. But the Blackhawks are in the bottom. They're a basement team like the Wings. Mm-hmm. And no one's picking up Quenneville because there's a reason they're a basement team. They've still got Kane and they still got Taves. They've got Alex DeBrincat. They've got solid players. They're just not finding a way to win. And I guess the link they found there was the coach. And they fire the coach. And the players, of course, will blame themselves. But you can only run the same system over and over again until it stops working. And if you don't change the system, then that's clearly the coach's fault.
Kind of what happened with Babcock at the end of his days in Detroit, except he went on his terms, and that's how it was.
Oh, yeah, and he saw the end coming.
So,
So I guess someone Chicago could have done better with and maybe saved Quenneville his job was Filip Zadina, who is heating up Grand Rapids right now. Last night, which tonight we're recording, it is the 15th of November. So last night on the 14th, Filip Zadina scored another 2 goals for the Grand Rapids Griffins. His second goal was absolute filth. And it is his 3rd multi-goal game of the season. And he seems to be on kind of a hot streak. Did you see the replay clips?
I did. That first one was, of course, what we would like to see here in Detroit, is a one-timer on the power play. We've been getting glimpses of it lately. They've been doing a little bit better in regards to that, but just when you see his shot come through, but the second goal, to your point, was just a beautiful dangle through the middle of the ice. Got the puck quick back to his stick and then fired it right through the goalie. That was just what you expect and what we're hoping to see more of.
Yeah, Zadina is, and we know he's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no, he should have been a 3rd overall pick. Some people still want to say, well, maybe other teams saw something in him that made him drop. I don't think so. I think other teams drafted for need over best available. You can clearly tell with the Arizona pick that they took some random center. Was it Barrett Hayton?
I think it was, yep. Because I remember how confused we all were about that one.
Yeah, they took Barrett Hayton, and granted, he was a good center in the draft, but he's still in minors. They should have taken, I mean, literally starting with Ottawa, should have taken Zadina.
Mm-hmm. Well, even
Yeah, I mean, actually, starting with Montreal for at the third pick where
Yeah,
they took Kotkaniemi should have taken Zadina.
I'd
So
say so far. I mean, the return for Kakaniemi has been decent for him to
not
an
third
extent.
overall pick, decent.
Yeah, true. I mean, there's
But
also more of a surprise,
I,
but it's still fun to make fun of him.
yeah, I think the big thing with Zadina is that Blashill was interviewed during today's game, asked about will we see Zadina with the Red Wings this year. And what Jeff Blashill said is Zadina will come to will come to Detroit when he can play consistently in Detroit. We're not going to bring him up for short-term success.
Mhm,
When he is ready to come up and stay up, is when he will come up,
mhm.
and that is the best possible scenario for this team is
Oh,
to bring
absolutely.
Zadina up when Zadina can just score goals at will. Like he
Yep.
said, fill people's nets with pucks. But
Yeah,
he's
it's
been impressive.
no, absolutely. And I was to Blashill, his comment is very, very direct too in how he said it. And you can tell that outside the media keeping their tabs on it, that Blashill's also staying pretty engaged in his performance. And it sounds like from what I've been reading is that they've been talking pretty much daily to Ben Smith. What you expect that? Is it Ben Smith?
For who?
Griffin's coach?
What? You cut out for a
Griffin's
second.
coach. Who's the Griffin's coach there?
Oh, Ben Simon.
Ben Simon, I'm sorry. You can tell that they're talking daily, which obviously they're going to, but he's keeping good tabs right now on how Zadina's been playing, and he's starting to make some more waves in the news, and that's what you can only hope for. So, well, I prefer it at this point, and I know we've talked about it before. If he comes up, it's later in the year, so if he's here to stay, and that's how it's going to go, and then he can kind of make himself at home.
Yeah, Simon's a good coach. He's a good judge of talent. He's really good friends with Blashill. And he'll let him know when he's ready. And I think like development, people will bitch and complain that the AHL is a bunch of scrubs and he's not going to learn anything there. It's mostly NHL talent and it's speed. The
Hmm.
AHL is still a fast league. It's a men's league. It is the second best league on the world. Like in the world is the second best league still. AHL teams will beat SHL teams. AHL teams will beat Liga teams, and they'll beat KHL teams. There's
With
a
the exception of like
reason.
two.
What?
With the exception of like one or two, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's a reason that the people from the AHL come to the NHL, and there are people in the KHL and the Swedish league that will never see NHL ice time.
Hmm. No, yeah, I agree.
Zadina will be lucky when he comes here. We will be lucky to have him. It may not be until next season, but that is absolutely fine. It may not be until the Red Wings have secured their spot at the bottom of the draft, which is also absolutely fine.
If,
And that brings us to what our final topic is, which is this Wings team for real? So the past 8 games, the Red Wings have won 7 out of 8. They're currently losing to Ottawa 2-1, but I mean it's Ottawa scores a lot of goals, and I'm surprised it's not a higher score. Ottawa's also got the worst defense in the league right now. But are these
and we have
Wings for real? Ryan, do you think the Wings are for real? Do you think this team is a winning team and that we're just along for the ride?
I can say that I honestly don't know. I don't think that they're truly for real. I be a liar if I said I wasn't enjoying the way they're playing. I know we've talked about the fact before that the way they've been playing, it's surprising they haven't won more games, and now it's actually coming together right now. So, um, are they going to be able to maintain it? I don't necessarily think so. I think somebody made the comparison to the Pistons and how they were playing last year. They went nice and hot for a good while, and all of a sudden reality hit, and they went right back to their bottom dwelling and finished out the season missing the playoffs again and just not looking too hot. So I kind of see the season going that way. You know, the players aren't going to necessarily want to make it go that way, but at the same time, I think the other teams in the league are going to start coming together and figuring things out, and they're going to be able to manipulate and take advantage of what Detroit is able to do or not do, essentially.
Yeah, we've also not played the best teams. We've got
Yeah.
after this Ottawa game, we have a really tough road schedule. But the thing is as a fan, knowing what a rebuild consists of, you kind of hope for the bottoming out. You
Mhm.
don't ever root you don't ever root for your team to lose. uh, Technically, you understand when you want them to develop, like Chalowski's developing amazingly,
Mm.
Rasmussen's developing, Larkin is a beast, but you know that when they get you, that's three players. Athanasiou's been good, Mantha's been better, but that's a fraction of your team. If the rest of your
Yep.
team is terrible, you're going to end up in the bottom. And the Wings need to end up in the bottom three. They need a top five pick.
I mean, quite
Like
honestly,
we did a little research. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, quite honestly, you can also add Jimmy Howard to that whole list because if it wasn't for the way he's been playing in most of these games, there is no way they would have won these last 7 to 8 games.
No, not at all. Like Howard right now is a top 10 goaltender.
This season.
Statistically,
Mhm.
with goalies that have played over 10 games, Howard is a top 10 goaltender. Which is great. Hopefully they trade him at the deadline and re-sign him in the offseason. And if the Wings are not sellers at the deadline, that is a huge problem. That tells you that they've gone back to their old ways, that Holland thinks there's a chance, and that he's
Mhm.
going to screw up the entire rebuild, which I don't think they'll do. But the way they're playing now, Nyquist is almost a point per game player.
Mhm.
Nyquist will get dealt at the deadline. Like we talked about earlier, Glenny will probably get dealt at the deadline. Howie can get dealt and come back next season or come back at the end of the season. You can try to see if Mike Green will waive his no trade clause. You might be able to see if you can get Daly to waive his, but I think they'll offload a ton of pieces.
I, I, I hope you're right. I just what's disheartening though is some of the names that you mentioned long term. They're all quick fixes. However, it's not guys that are going to be more of a necessary void just because of cost of contract. Yes, Nyquist, he's good chunk of money right now. Howard's making up 5 million plus, so they're both good to come off. But at the same time, the only good way to bring a guy like Howard back, especially, is if you're getting him at cost and you're not paying him over 5 million, especially if he's going to be a 1A 1B scenario with
Yeah.
Bernier, who we still got for 2.5 more years after this season. So
Well,
it's
I think Howie would take less because I think he knows he's toward the end of his career or toward the end of his starter career, and
mhm.
he has said several times that he wants to retire, like he wants to retire a Detroit Red Wing, which I can understand because he's played for the Wings his entire career.
Right.
So I think you could get Howie to come back for lower. I could see Howie coming in for under 3 million. Um,
Which would
three,
be
well, yeah, between 3.5.
if,
Like what a Carter Hutton type deal.
yeah, if it's closer to 3, I'd be happy, especially if it's probably 2 3 year deal. I'd say 3. That way you've got a year of overlap with Bernier, and then that also lets your um, prospects develop a little bit more. And by that point, they should really be ready to go.
Yeah, I think you could also. I don't think you can hope to get much more than a third for Nyquist because Nyquist is a rental. His contract is done. I think you could get a third for Luke Glenn. I think a team will give you a third for Luke Glendening. Now, what we're looking at is would they be able to trade someone like Danny DeKaiser? Would they? And God, this is out of the realm of possibility most of the time, but his season's gotten better. Could they trade a Justin Abdelkader?
Mhm.
I mean, his numbers have been better this season. Do they trade a guy like Nick Jensen?
Yes.
I think they do too. He's been solid. I think the guys you don't touch is you don't touch Larkin, Mantha, Athanasiou,
Hmm.
Bertuzzi, and then your rookies. You're of course not doing anything with Chalowski or Rasmussen. But I think
Right.
everyone else should be on the table. Why not?
Yeah, I would have to agree. It's I think this year will be a lot more calm in regards to the trade front, and I think next year is where we're going to start seeing things happening. And the main reason I say that is I'm looking at cap friendly. Darren Helm, his no trade clause after this season can be voided up at the trade deadline or
Oh, nice.
between. between June 15th, 2019 and the 1920 NHL trade deadline. And the stipulations are if he's not in the top 9 forwards in time on ice, or if the team doesn't qualify for the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
So after this year, he's got 2 years left. So there's my first candidate after this season. Justin Abdelkader, he has a full no trade clause, so he has to waive it absolutely no matter what, and that goes all the way up past the 2020 season. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't see him going anywhere unless, by grace of God, he waives his thing. And then the only other one, I mean, everyone else, we're pretty much wide open on the offensive side. Franz Nielsen, he's too old now. If they traded his contract, I'd be amazed. His is a
No.
modified no trade, no movement, so he's just got a 10-team no trade list. So I am gonna say that the likely candidate, Nyquist, is your one that you mentioned this year. I think going into next year would be Darren Helm. But even making those moves, if those 2 contracts gone over the next year with everything else that's fallen off, there's a lot of potential that we keep kind of going back to that we've been beaten on for the last several months. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to my answer, which is I don't think the Red Wings are for real. I think that we got a lot of fortunate games. Puck luck has come our way recently, but that will not stay forever. I still think they're a bottom 3 team to finish the season. There are people saying, oh, the Wings are going to get 83 points, or I still think we're in the 67 to 73 range. I don't think we're anywhere higher than that. Um, I just don't see with the talent, and there's talent on this team, but there's more talent on other teams, and there's more developed talent on other teams. And your goalies, after a while, I'm telling you, when was the last season that Jimmy Howard wasn't injured? You're going to have to play Bernier for a 5 to 10 game stretch at some point, and we've seen what happened besides the last game that he played. What's been happening with Bernier, and he's either on it or he's way off.
Which is
So
pretty much exactly what he had going for him in Toronto. So
yeah, so I think you'll see Howie go down for a bit because his groin isn't as young as it used to be. And he'll go down for a bit, and we'll have to see Bernier, and they'll call up someone like they'll probably call up Rybar. I think Rybar was more impressive in the preseason than Sateri, so they'd call up Rybar, and those are your goalies for a 10 game stretch or whatever.
how have those guys been in Grand Rapids so far? I know the team's doing okay, but how's the goaltending actually been looking?
That's a real good question. Let me double check.
I've got Grand Rapids. So if you're looking at the straight stats, I mean, to your point, Rybar is looking pretty good overall. He's played 4 or less games in Satiri. So here's the stat line from GriffinsHockey.com. We got Rybar. He's got 5 games. He's got a 197 goals against, and he's 3-1-1 right now with a 920 save percentage. That's pretty fantastic, actually. And then Satiri, he's gone through 9 games. He's got a 371 goals against. He's 4-5 record with an 867 save percentage.
So I think Rybar is your NHL caliber goalie,
or at least your backup or your immediate call up.
Yeah, Sateri played 9 games for Florida when Luongo went down, whose jersey I so happen to be wearing currently, Roberto Luongo. But
isn't he losing right now to Columbus?
I don't know. I haven't been tracking Luongo, but
I think they're losing.
What else I found? The other interesting thing I found out, there is a goalie. So we've got Patrick Rybar. There is also a goalie named Patrick Rypar, Rypar, instead of Rybar. So that's confusing. He plays in the European lower leagues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a right wing. So that's interesting.
Kind of like Glendening and Glendening.
Yeah, Glendening. But I think that's what's going to end up happening is you'll see a goalie shift at some point, but it's good. It's all good. You want a top pick. Don't stop bitching at me about, oh, we just want to see them. You're not a real fan because you just want to see the team lose. We want to see them do as best as they can. And the kids need playoff experience. No, the kids need NHL experience first before they need playoff experience.
Exactly. How far are you
Like,
behind your feed right now?
I'm on a wall side Windows commercial.
Okay, I won't say anything what's going on right now then.
Okay. Well,
Anyways.
so yeah, it's I think if they made the playoffs at all, they're bounced first round.
Exactly. And that was a conversation I had with some buddies at work today. Why would you want that? As fun as it is, yeah, it's great. Let's go to a playoff game. Let's see what LCA is going to be like in that scenario. But who wants to lose in 4 games to fucking Tampa again? I sure as hell
Exactly.
don't.
No, and that doesn't teach them anything besides how to get stomped.
Yeah.
So
Oh, great. You got experience. That
yeah, your experience is being real sad and getting stomped by Tampa. So I don't understand it. I'm not rooting for them to lose. I'm not saying like, come on, Wings, lose. Come on, Ottawa, beat them. No, I'm saying develop. If you lose, it's because you're supposed to lose because you're not a good team. They're right now giving a lot of undereducated fans, and I don't say undereducated like you're real stupid, but you're not. You need to figure out how this rebuild works.
the blinders
They're
are on.
giving them false hope. So
And,
I don't know.
it's gonna be the state of the team, the fan base for a couple years because of it too, just because of the spoiled, rotten fan in us is going to come out nonstop. It's going to happen to all of us. But for people to get bitchy and say, "How dare you want the team to lose?" and blah blah blah, you don't want that. That's exactly what you just said. It's
Yeah,
we don't want them to lose, but at the same time, how's this team going to get better if they don't?
exactly. I
That's an
don't want the team to lose. I
yeah,
want
it's
them
an
to be
unfortunate.
good for a long time.
Are they going to be good for a long time, like 25 straight playoff appearances? I doubt it. If they did that, it'd be fucking amazing, and we'd be on a whole new level of excitement. But as to I think I've seen some of your conversations here the last couple of days of looking at teams that have won the cup over the last 10 years. What do they have?
2 top 5 draft picks.
Exactly. So if
Yeah.
you give,
How many top 5 draft picks do the Wings have?
0.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Over the past 10 years, there have been 2 top the cup winning teams have had at least 2 top 5 draft picks. And
So let's see who we got. We got Malkin and Crosby.
Yep.
Kane and Taves.
Yep.
Who else we got in here?
LA had I went through this and some of them are like, oh yeah, they're I think it was
Kopitar.
no, Kopitar's not top 10.
Oh,
So no, it was there's like Jack Johnson. One team said Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was a top 10 pick or a top 5 pick. Yeah, I went through this, and there's some you wouldn't think were top 5 picks, but they were. Boston had Blake Wheeler when they won, and Blake Wheeler was a top 5 pick. Tyler Seguin was a top 5 pick. So it's the teams, but that's it. Going back 10 years, each team that has won a Stanley Cup has at least 2 top 5 picks, and you're not rebuilding the team through free agency anymore. That doesn't happen. Good players don't go to free agency really. You're not building a team through trades because you have to have stuff to trade to get good players. And you build through the draft, and with that, you need top 5 picks. That's how it happens. So, boo-hoo to all you people that want to cry and say you just want to see the team lose. I want to see them develop this year, not win, and then be good for years to come, not be bad to mediocre first round exits. That's what I want. So
agreed.
To recap, we're not getting Joel Quenneville, so shut up. Zadina on fire, real good. Probably won't be up this year still because Blash knows that we're rebuilding and doesn't want to ruin that. And are the Wings for real? No, probably not. Still a bottom 3 team. If they push for playoffs and make it, real dumb decision on their part. Ryan, final thoughts.
Just have fun. I think that's kind of been my go-to pod to pod is enjoy what they're putting out there right now because they're still a fun team to watch. If they win, they win. If they don't, they don't. As long as the guys we see that we're excited to see, like Larkin and them, is that as long as they continue to develop and get better, that's all we can ask for.
Yeah, and if there's anything we've learned from D-Boss, it's 1, 2, 3, let's have fun, right?
Exactly.
In the Snip show, he said 1, 2, 3, let's have fun, and that is what he's doing this year. He's schooling people, and yeah. So my final thoughts are, get at me online. It's fun arguing with you people because you clearly don't know what you're talking about. But this development has been great. It's great to see guys like Chalowski be killer. It's great to see Larkin get the most time on ice and put the team on his back some nights. His leadership is amazing. And it's good to watch. It's good to watch, but don't start getting sad when they start losing. Ryan, Twitter handle.
At RDRyan33.
You can find me on Twitter at Bringing the Wing. You can find the Grindline Podcast on Twitter at GrindlinePod. We are everywhere. You can find us on Apple iTunes, Google Play. You can find us on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, which is my platform of choice. You can see us on Spotify, which is probably the best streaming service for podcasts right now, even though it's impossible to get on. But we're there. So like us, subscribe to us, leave us comments, go vote on our Twitter poll. Our newer one is we'll be doing one a week and then talking about it on the podcast. So get on there. And for Ryan, I'm Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town.